Hi, I'm Una. Thank you for clicking on my channel and I hope you'll stay while I show you how I made this card using two older stamp sets from Hero Arts. I love to look at the things in my stash and see is there any new way I can come up with to combine them to create something new. People I sent this card to last year said they absolutely loved it, so I thought I'd show it on my channel. Here goes. The embossing folder I used for the backdrop is this one. It's a really cheap one I bought for €1 last year and I have used it on just so many of my holiday cards. It creates such a lovely snowy backdrop. These stitched border dies from Avery Elle create lovely snowbanks. Isn't the card just gorgeous? I just can't get enough of it. The Fox stamp set stamps two foxes and there's a matching die set. It stamps an adult fox and a baby fox, and there are lots of nice words in it as well, and the embellishments, the glasses and the different things you can add to the fox are just hilarious. The first layer is really the second layer in the set, but I use it as the first layer because it just makes the lining up so easy. For the darker layer, I'm using Memento Potter's Clay ink. It's a dye ink. I ink it up really well. And one ink layer was dark enough, and I moved on to the body layer. I hold this one up to the camera so that you'll see that if you look through, it's quite easy to line up. The eye sockets and the ears and the hair on the back of the fox and the hair on the base of the tail, they all line up very easily. This pigment ink I'm using, I just got in a cheap set I bought in my local hobby store. I don't even know what the brand name is. I'm sure we all have inks like that in our stash. To stamp these foxes, I often use distress inks as well. I think distress inks work really well. I've used Wild Honey and Rusty Hinge, and I like to do a grey fox as well. I use pumice stone and something like hickory smoke for the dark layer. I use Memento Tuxedo Black for the face. And again, this is really easy to line up. The eyes line up really easily, and I find if you put the eyes into the base of the sockets, the white sockets that you can see, it lines up perfectly. The legs are a little trickier. They take a little bit of work, but if you stand up and look down through the stamp set, there are angles on the legs of the fox that make it easy enough to line up. And when you do get it right, it's absolutely perfect, spot on. This stamp set was so well engineered. The baby fox can be a little tricky to line up as well. I didn't get it quite right when I was making this card, and you'll see in a moment that I did try a second time, and I botched it up even more. But this one I'm doing now wasn't bad enough to have to discard, so I fixed it up in the end, and I'll show you in a moment how I like to fix things. And there usually is a fix in the craft room. Very little ends up in the bin. And because the body was slightly out of alignment, that meant that the head was slightly out too. And I'll show you, like I said, in a moment, just what I did, how I fixed that. Using Memento Tuxedo Black again for the face and the legs. And to fix up the legs, because the alignment was slightly off, I used a Copic multi-liner. to fix those, and then I smooshed some ink on the lid of my Misty and used a paintbrush to fix the body, and a white jelly roll pen to fix the eye. The dies line up perfectly, and so I took them away to my Gemini Junior to cut them out. And this little fox was definitely giving me a bit of trouble today. I wasn't happy with the amount of white space that was left on top. I didn't align it properly, and I used my scissors to trim off the excess white. The sentiment is from a set that's 4 years old. I think this came out from Hero Arts in 2015. I really like this set. I've been using it for those over the 4 years. There are stamps that say Merry Christmas, have a holly jolly Christmas. For the inside of my cards, I really like Christmas cheer and a Happy New Year. There's one that says holiday greetings from me to you, and one that says cheers. And there's a lovely little pine cone and some leaves and a little poinsettia. So a really nice set, very versatile. Here I line up the snowbanks, get them perfectly aligned, and then squeeze some glue under the front flap. That's a Gina K bottle, but it contains high-tack, fast-tack glue, just a cheap alternative from my hobby store. Then I get the snowbanks perfectly aligned with the base of my card, and use some foam tape to pop up the head of the fox and along his back. I particularly like this foam tape for dimension because it's not too thick. When I'm aiming to put something into the mail or into the post, as we call it here in Ireland, I don't want it to be too bulky. And so it's nice to give it just a little dimension, but not too much. And I think he's just so cute. Looks as if he's staring straight at you, conveying those season's greetings. I pop up the little fox's head, the same dimension, and then place it as if it is staring up at the adult fox. It's just a lovely image. I use my Teflon bone folder to crease the card, and then I'll finish that off with a sentiment inside, and I'll put a handmade stamp on the back of the card. If you enjoyed this card, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love if you would subscribe to my channel, and please leave a comment below. Advice, suggestions, I would just love to hear from you. Thank you so much for visiting me today. All the best for now. Bye.